DMK is unlike any skincare company on Earth. Named after visionary founder Danné Montague-King, DMK is committed to providing individualized products and treatment plans that heal skin on the cellular level, whether the condition concerns pigmentation, acne, inflammation, or signs of aging. DMK is home to the original enzyme mask, the game-changing formula that sends oxygenating, tightening, and exfoliating signals into the skin to enact changes in skin structures from the inside out. At DMK, we believe everyone deserves to feel the confidence that comes with healthy, beautiful skin. Learn more at DannéMking.com. That's DANNEM King.com. Are you interested in providing results-driven treatment services? Join a team of like-minded individuals who share your passion and support your success. With more than 1,000 franchised locations in 49 states, Massage Envy is not only the nation's #1 provider of massage services collectively across its franchise network, but also a national leader in skincare. Start or grow your career at a Massage Envy franchised location. Visit massageenvy.com/Esty careers for full details.
Hello and welcome to ASCP's Esty Talk. I'm your co-host Maggie Staszcuk and ASCP's program director.
And I'm Ella Cressman, licensed esthetician, ingredient junkie, and content contributor for Associated Skincare Professionals.
Hey Ella, how you doing?
Hey girl.
Today we're diving into a topic that has been buzzing, I hear, on social media since I think like the summer. It's Cortisol Face. Have you been seeing this around?
Literally in my mirror 2 months ago.
Okay, yeah. So I think you had mentioned this a while back in a prior pod. And I'm curious too if you've noticed changes in your skin or your client's skin during stressful times.
Yes, it's crazy. What I noticed in myself is I was just poofy, like poofy everywhere, but especially in my face. It was like a round face looking. Listen, I'm not thin by any means, but there was no definition. There was no cheekbones. There was barely a chin that was popping out. I'm like, what is going on? Like the weight hadn't like barely fluctuated on the scale, but I just looked like a moon face almost.
And this was just like overnight or it was gradual?
I think it was gradual if I look back on it, but I was literally in such a place of stress. Like and it's no secret, we've kind of talked about some of the things on here, but there's been one thing after another. And then I was working in a situation that I hated. I hated it. And I think that was silently building up and manifesting on my face. And it was so crazy. So I started being more aware of it and looking at that in my clients that would come in too. And some of them I would notice that same puffiness. And when you'd press in, it would have a different sponginess to it.
Oh, interesting.
And a lot of other complications that went along with it. But yeah, it was weird. And I was super reactive too. So I had a test out on some peels and I had itchiness that felt inside, like so far deep in my skin, I couldn't stop itching it. It was like it was sensitized. It went away and then it rebounded again. It was the craziest thing. I'm so glad I got to experience it because it made me more empathetic or understanding. I don't know the right word.
Aware. That's
a good one. And because when I'm asking my clients, I feel like I can ask the questions. Did it feel like this? Did I feel like this? Did I feel like this? So
yeah.
It was very interesting.
Well, let's unpack what Cortisol Face really is, how it affects our appearance, and how the aesthetics industry is adapting to this trend. So to begin, quote unquote, Cortisol Face is not an officially recognized medical term.
Yet. Just kidding.
Dum, dum, dum. Okay, but it has gained popularity in discussions with regard to stress, skin health, whole body health even, especially on social media. It's been trending for a while. And in the beauty and wellness communities. And the aesthetics industry, I think, is starting to pick up on this term. So the concept, like you're describing it, refers to real physiological changes associated with elevated cortisol levels as a result of stress, and it can affect the skin's appearance.
Yes, absolutely. You know, there is this connection, and sometime we'll talk about off-label use, but do you know what spironolactone is?
Tell us.
Spironolactone is actually a blocker, an androgen blocker, and it's meant for when you have these high stress amounts, you can go into your adrenals kick in, right? And so when your adrenals kick in, it creates hormones that help you deal with it. But it's kind of like, we use the analogy of being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. Then that adrenals produce adrenaline, and the adrenaline gives you the strength to run so fast and get up a tree. Your palms are sweaty so that they're able to grip better. Like, that's where it all began. But now we don't have saber-toothed tigers, but we have things like our boss is calling, or the bills are due, or, I can't work, or my mom is ill, all of those things. And the body still responds the same, where the adrenal glands are going, and they're releasing. One of those, as I mentioned, is adrenaline, but another one is cortisol, the stress hormone. So it's okay if it's acute and just a little bit, like a patink. But where we're at now, where we've established the sense of normalcy, is where it's more of a chronic release of cortisol. So that chronic release of cortisol creates that long-term superhuman thing where we're able to get through. But the problem is our bodies aren't designed to keep that all the time. So you can go into things like adrenal fatigue, and there's a whole other host of issues that come along with that. But when we're in this cortisol thing, the body's trying to protect itself and hold on to what it can. And one of those is water. So when you're stressed and you get poofy, that's one of the things.
So there are a lot of people that argue that this cortisol face, or the puffiness that people are exhibiting, is a result of poor diet, salt, sugar, processed foods. Maybe it's alcohol intake, maybe it's not enough sleep, which are all byproducts of an increase in stress, but that it is not this quote unquote cortisol face, or it's not a release of cortisol. And they're not discrediting the stress per se, but what you are experiencing is something else.
Because you drank too much.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or you had a bag of Lay's.
Yeah. But why did you have that? Because
you're stressed.
Because you're stressed, or you're up and you need crunchy to satiate. Yes. And then that's chicken and the egg.
Yes.
Which came first?
Yes. Which came first?
The bag of chips or the oily skin complexion or the poofy face or whatever it is.
Yes. Yeah. So the term encapsulates this growing awareness of how stress impacts physical health, particularly in the context of aesthetics. And I will just say beauty and wellness industry, not even just the aesthetics industry, is kind of jumping on this bandwagon because their clients are coming in. Clients are stressed. They want a facial. They need to relax. And they're puffy. They're dehydrated. They have dark circles. How does the aesthetics industry help their clients look better, feel better? And then, of course, the consumer also is saying, how can you help me look better and feel better?
You know where that goes back to? Our favorite word, consultation.
Yeah.
Because that you have to be aware of all of those factors when you're addressing something. So you can speak to those things. Not necessarily in detail, but it's like, this could have an effect. And then maybe that triggers them into going, maybe I do need some help to talk to somebody. Or maybe talking to you is part of it. Talking to you about this is what's going on, just to be a sounding board, as long as you're not holding on to it. But that could be something that helps calm down. So being aware of those things, not just say you have something wrong with your skin because you ate this, right? Why did you eat this? Do you think, I don't know, talking to somebody would help? Or what are some other things like the forest bathing that we talked about that can aid in slowing down that adrenal activity and calming it down, even if just for an hour? There's got to be lasting effect of that.
I think it's important from the esthetician's perspective to just at least have a basic understanding of what cortisol is doing to the skin. So the alcohol and the chips are likely having a negative impact on the skin as a result of stress, but cortisol is as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it is increasing oil production. This is theoretically leading to acne breakouts. It is causing inflammation, which is also exacerbating all of these inflammatory conditions that we're well familiar with: acne, eczema, rosacea, the list goes on. It has the potential to decrease collagen production. It contributes to premature aging.
Yeah. And that's interesting because their resource, kind of like when somebody's pregnant, all their resources are going somewhere else. They're not going to building the buildings. And that's the way I think of the collagen production in our body is like when things are going smoothing, all the workers are there and they're got their scaffolding up and they're making the walls and such. But when there's like a fire on the other side of town, all hands on deck. So hold on just a minute, worker. So when you are having these hormonal shifts or these adrenal shifts or cortisol shifts, then it stops the resources that go for the collagen production. So instead, it's trying to put out the fire or is trying to support the barrier or trying to understand why we have this puffiness and this water retention and how do we get that to absorb and release and other things. And something else that is affected is wound healing. So that could be an indication. When we think of wounds like a scratch, but a wound can also be like a pop pimple. So if you have a pimple popped, there's a lot of structural damage there and the skin is trying to repair itself. But if it's taking a lot longer, that is probably an indication that there is something going on with adrenals or with cortisol. And that's why it's taking a little longer.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back.
Elibana, Australian-born, globally loved. Elibana's story is simple. They love lashes and brows. They shoot for the stars and lift lashes to new heights. Their addiction is real, their passion is popping, and there is nothing more they crave than offering excellence, service, and innovation in products. Elibana Lash Lift allows you to offer your customers luscious, lifted lashes that can last up to 12 weeks in one safe 20-minute treatment. Learn more at elibana-usa.com.
Okay, here we go. Let's get back to the podcast.
The other thing about cortisol, for me especially, this was crazy, girl. I was like Tarzan, like swinging through the jungle of moods. Like I was like over here and then over there because it was just like rushes and rushes and rushes of things. And that is not fun when you're experiencing it firsthand. It's not fun at all.
Yeah, I am right there with you. Big Krabby Patty.
Yeah. Or Happy Patty on the other. Give me 5 minutes. It was crazy. I'm like, what is going on? My poor husband had to endure. I'm like, why are your socks there? And like just things that really didn't matter, but they would set me off because my whole body was locked and loaded and ready to go with it. So it absolutely affected my self-esteem, my mental health. And then also that then created this weird cycle of stress. And then like you just kept going and going, snowballing.
We have talked before in other podcasts about the aesthetics industry being more aware and having this connection to mental health. And should there be a line drawn with
like out of scope of practice?
Yeah.
Should there be a line drawn between the scopes of practice? I don't know because, yeah, like I think you have to be aware as a practitioner. I would love to see more of that incorporated into the school or advanced education, not required. Similar how we look at nutrition. Like there's no, it's a little bit of a gray area for scope of practice, but we understand that one affects the other. So we can take a course to be more educated on the subject to provide advice, but not prescribe necessarily. So if we were looking at, or a yogi saying that a yoga instructor saying that this would help this way, they're not necessarily a mental health professional, but they understand that one affects the other. So I think the awareness of it and offering suggestions allows the client or the patient to be empowered to make solutions or changes on their own.
Yeah.
To take action.
I am aware of estheticians going out, getting additional training or certifications where they are also now life coaches or, whatever it is, so that they can be better equipped, if you will, to provide that advice and be a sounding board for the client who's coming in and needs that therapy, if you will.
Yeah. And I think that some people might be more open to that than going to see like a talk therapist.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more accessible now because you have a lot of virtual options, but they're just going to see their hairstylist or their nails done or their esthetician. And I don't mean to put them all in the same category, but there's a disarming part of that. There's something like, for me, my mental health is completely enhanced when I go get my nails done. And guess what? We don't even talk. It's just that somebody's touching me. I'm stopping. I literally can't touch my phone for an hour. And someone is taking complete care of me. So it gives me time to think and to sort things out in my life or in my head, if nothing else. And I'm so grateful for that time. We barely speak, but I just have so much adoration for her. And she does for me because she's taking care of me for that time. And I love it.
Yeah, I think that all aspects of the aesthetics treatment contribute to that stress reduction. You are getting your facial, you're being touched, you're having personal attention and skin analysis even that is specific just for you. Someone's taking the time to analyze and tell you, this is what I'm noticing. This is the treatment plan that we're creating just for you.
Mm-hmm. And if someone says to you, like, your skin looks a little bit, are you under a lot? What's your stress level like?
Yeah.
And it might just be like, they see me.
Yeah.
They understand. Or, oh my gosh, there is a connection to this.
Yeah,
and you
totally.
can do it in a way that's not crossing the boundaries, that's still within your scope of practice. The same you would say, like, do you smoke? None of my business, but I do see a little bit more congestion in this area. So that could be the reason why. And then they're like, they saw me.
I'm also aware of clinics that are incorporating mindfulness into not just their treatments, but also adding it to their menu, which I think is brilliant. And I think it just goes to show how more and more estheticians are aware of a more holistic approach to treating their clients and having a overarching impact on just mental health and stress reduction and caring for the whole client, not just the skin.
Well, you know what I hear with that too is like taking care of someone, but I also hear, ooh, that's a great way to have client loyalty.
Yeah.
Because they feel cared for.
Yeah.
And there's something to say, especially for a lot of people who are natural caretakers, like me. Are you a natural caretaker, do you think?
Yeah, I think all estheticians are.
Yeah.
You have to have a nurturing side or you're in the wrong industry.
But do you accept it? Do you accept to be nurtured?
Do I accept to be nurtured?
Yeah.
Oh, Ella, that's another conversation.
Yeah, that's totally different, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are like that. So when you have, so many people in the world, especially when you have people who are, let's just say mothers or fathers who are also working and then they've got to get them to soccer or, all of these other considerations. They're caring for everybody else. Is dinner made? Are the bills paid? Is the lawn cut? Okay, great. And then they're coming in and they're being cared for by us, the esthetician, it's like, I just got chills thinking about it. Like, it feels so good. It's so much more than just the serum you're putting on.
Yeah.
It's so much more than the skin you're cleaning off.
Yeah.
Or the laser that you're doing. Well, it's so much more than that. It's so much more than just, I have a minute for me.
You're right. Now, listeners, we want to hear from you. Are you seeing the term cortisol face pop up on social media? Or are your clients asking about this in the treatment room? Share with us on social media through Instagram, Facebook, or by emailing getconnected@ascpskincare.com. Thank you for listening to ASCP Esty Talk. And as always, for more information on this episode, or for ways to connect with Ella and myself, or to learn more about ASCP, check out the show notes.